Let's see here. Give me just a minute, folks. I'm getting things ready here. I'm getting things ready. Let me just move that. And paste that. There we go. Now let's pop this out. And move this over here where I can see it. And stretch it out. There we go. I'm doing alright, Master Millions. I am doing alright. Move this over here out of my way. Get the microphone right here in front of me. And we are all set. Alright, now we just wait for everybody to show up. Wait for everybody to show up. And hopefully they do, because not many showed up yesterday. Which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Hi, Alexis. Hi, the power of metal. Platinum Demon Souls, very fun, then difficult. True. Hello, Evil Otaku. Well, I was long time no see. I was live yesterday, and then prior to that, I was live 2 weeks ago. So, you know, I've been around. I've been around. Give everybody a couple more minutes to get in here. Oh! Oh! What a time it has been. What a time it has been. Been playing the Pathless. 8th has that game. He got it for Christmas. Hello, Juggernauts. We'll be starting in about 1 minute. About 1 minute. Fun, fun, fun. Fun, 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 fun. Got a brand new copy of Borderlands 3 for $10. Do you think it was worth it? 8th is playing it on PS5 right now. I took your advice and bought one of the books you recommended, The Art of Writing, working on art of fiction. There you go. That'll help you out a lot. On writing, the first big chunk of it is Stephen King just kind of telling the story of how he became a writer. And then the last section of it is actual notes on better writing and whatnot. A lot of your stuff, you just need to like get some books on English grammar and whatnot. And that would help you out a lot, because a lot of your stuff is just grammatical stuff. Hello, Agent Redshirt. All right, so it is Saturday. It is 6 o'clock. January 9th, 2021. And this is the 7th Cast. As always, I am your venerable host, your friendly neighborhood 7th. 8th is in his room. The last time I heard, he was asleep. So he probably stayed up half the night playing a game. And so now he's paying the price for that. He does that on occasion, as we all did back then. And as I did quite a bit over the Christmas holidays, there were several days where I was sleeping during the day because I was staying up till 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning playing Ass Creed Vikings. So I was off work for 18 days straight. I only had to work 3 days this week because of it, all of which were pretty exhausting because anytime I leave for an extended amount of time, there's always a bunch of stuff waiting for me when I come back. And so I had a real plate worth to deal with. Is what it is. That's how my life works. It's just how it goes. Let's see. We'll answer some quick questions, then get into the single topic that I have today. Let's see here. From Turkish Van. Sup 7th, been a long time. Yeah, I haven't seen you in here in a while. Thoughts on the show Jeopardy? Never really got that into it. 2021 will be I did play the NES game quite a bit. 2021 will be a great year for games Ratchet and Clank, God of War, and Horizon 2. We should hope so. Funny you should mention, look like I'm going to have to wait till I file my taxes to get mine. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Your room is different. Did you change rooms? No. The room's not different. The camera angle is. Same room, different camera angle. I'll get into that in a minute too. Hello, by the way. Hi. Thoughts on political crap? I don't get into that. Don't get into that. This is a gaming and pop culture and movies and media live stream. This is not a what are your thoughts on the political happenings of the day stream. This has been a tenet of the 7th Cast for years. It has never changed. So I'm not sure why I keep having to remind everybody of it. Of course, if you're just another troll, then you know how things are going to end for you. So we'll find out. Anyway, finally got my stimulus check. It was late. The reason most people did not get theirs when everyone else did was because they either filed their taxes through H&R Block or they filed their taxes in 2019 through TurboTax. I filed mine through TurboTax. And because of that, TurboTax had a holding bank that they used for the transferring of funds. And the first stimulus check showed up just like that. The second one didn't show up, and it's because the IRS screwed up and sent the money to that holding bank instead of sending it to the actual accounts, like mine. And so when I would go to the IRS website and say, where's my money? The error that I would get was an update is unavailable, we don't have enough information, or you do not qualify for a stimulus payment. You will have to claim it as a rebate on your taxes. And I kept getting that, and I kept getting that, and I kept getting that. So I was resolved to the idea of having to file for that rebate on my taxes. Well, then a couple of days ago, I got an email from TurboTax telling me that they had been working tirelessly with the IRS to resolve this issue, and they had resolved it, and the IRS had the correct bank accounts now, and so I would be seeing my money shortly. And I did. And because of the fact that when I filed taxes in 2019, 8th was 16, I got $600 for me, $600 for 8th. So I got $1,200. And the very first thing I did was secure 8th's birthday present, because his birthday comes right after Christmas. And the thing that he wanted was a new receiver. Now, I know I told you all this story about how I had found my 25-year-old stereo, and it had been returned to me, and it was still working and everything. And it does still work. However, the receiver appears to have a short in the left speaker output. So no matter what speaker you plug into the left-hand side, it'll occasionally dip out for a couple seconds and then come back. And I deemed it was starting to annoy 8th because he's gotten into listening to records, and anyone who knows a vinyl fan, a vinyl file if you want, knows that sound quality for them is key, and so anything that starts interfering with that starts to be a pain in the ass. And he started complaining about it. So in this current social climate that we have, where it's not necessarily the safest thing to be going out in public, and a lot of smaller locally owned businesses aren't even open, the prospect of taking this 25-year-old receiver that has capacitors this big around in it and saying, hey, how much to repair the loss of signal on the left speaker, was more trouble than it was worth. And so I was like, well, this old 25-year-old receiver doesn't have Bluetooth or any of the other modern contrivances anyway, so how about a new receiver for your birthday? And he said yes. So I bought him this nice $400 Denon receiver. So he's going to be getting that for his birthday. For myself, I knew that I wanted to be getting back into retro game streaming, even though none of you watch it. I did my first retro game stream in at least 1 or 2 years last night, and 20 of you showed up. And even then, for most of the night, there was only 11 people watching. So, that's... Don't be thinking that I do retro streaming because I'm looking for more donation money, because none of you show up. I do it just to have an excuse to come in here and play retro stuff. And it's just easier to do this than to have to take one of those down, hook it all up, and then put additional wear and tear on my console and my cartridges. So I needed additional gear for that. Part of that meant that I was going to need to be able to have this TV back up on my desk. And with my dual monitor setup, I didn't have room for this TV on my desk. So 8th had recently reconfigured his computer to not require his monitor mount arm anymore. And so he brought that in here and put one of my monitors vertical, which is the one over here, and my main monitor horizontal. But it also meant that this monitor was going to be higher up off the base of the desk than it was previously, which of course pushes my web camera up higher off the desk than it used to be. So you're now seeing me at a camera angle different than what you did before, and that's why the room looks slightly different. Same room, nothing else moved around. The camera has been moved up higher because the monitor is up higher. As far as what I've bought myself, I have ordered myself a new guitar foot pedal. I bought myself the Boss ME80, which is a multi-pedal, multi-effects setup. They're about yay big, and they got 2 sets of pedals on the bottom and a wah pedal on the right-hand side. And it has everything that I would ever need to do with it. Yes, I know you can get all sorts of little plugins for Reaper that does a lot of these effects, but in my opinion, it doesn't sound as good as just running it through a really good effects pedal, and I've always loved the Boss effects pedals, and this has all of their main best effects all on one thing. I can sit it right here on the desk. I don't even have to have it on the floor, and I can sit and fiddle with it, get all the different sounds I want, and then save them as custom sounds, so I can just flip from one sound to the other without having to tweak anything. And to go along with that, I bought me this, which is a simple audio interface where I can plug in, I can plug in my guitar right here and pump that right into the PC with this, and I can hook up a microphone right here and do with an actual vocals microphone and record my vocals right into the computer without having to use this streaming mic over USB to get it done. So I got that, and of course, prior to getting the stimulus, I charged a new retro emulation console from China, which is called the Super Console X. I can't show it on camera because it's wired up right now, but it looks kind of like a little Super Nintendo that's about this big. Looks like a Super Famicom about that big, and it's not RetroPie. It's Android based, and it has 41,000 games on it. It has all the NES. It is missing a couple of arcade games that I wanted on there. It doesn't have the arcade version of Strider, which really surprised me, since that was such a popular arcade game. It doesn't have Strider, and it doesn't have the original Contra arcade game. It does, but it's not, whoever set up this ROM set, it's not a good version of the ROM. The ROM crashes without loading. So Super Contra works fine. I have Super Contra, but I don't have original Contra. All the NES games I've ever wanted to play are on there. Full NES set, full Genesis, full all sorts of stuff. If you had showed up for the stream yesterday, you'd know what all it has on there. And I did have some challenges last night because I bought also a new controller for doing these retro streams. And the controller I got was the 8BitDo SN30 Pro Plus, which is a nice little controller. It's got a good weight to it. And it's basically a Super Nintendo controller with analog sticks and triggers. And the only thing was that I thought it was just going to be pure plug and play, and it turned out it was not. And so I was having some challenges getting certain functions of the games I was playing to work properly last night. And so after the stream ended, I sat and played around with the configuration some more. I got it the way that I want it, so I shouldn't be having those problems on the next one. What I haven't decided on is what day of the week I want to do those retro streams. Used to, I did them every Wednesday night. I will leave that up to you guys. You guys vote in the chat. Let me know what night you would want me to do the retro streaming on. And then basically you guys would see me twice a week. Once for the retro streaming and once for the 7th cast. Now, let me catch up with the chat, because that was the only topic that I really had. If we do get that next stimulus, that $2,000 stimulus, if we do get that, I will be looking to potentially, if I can find one, get the At Games Legends virtual pinball machine for $600, if I can find one. If I can't find one, I found a dude on Etsy that makes custom virtual pinball machines that are way nicer than the At Games Legends, but the downside to it is it's $1,200 plus shipping. So I would really prefer to do the At Games Legend for $600, because that'll be far cheaper on me if I can find one. So let's try to catch up here. Oh, and reminder, this is a 3-hour podcast. It runs from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., can be extended by donation. If we get up to 50 total, I stay till 10. If we get up to 75 total, I stay till 11. If we get to 100, I stay till midnight for a 6-hour stream, which actually happened like 3 weeks ago. With the retro stream, it's different. I'm probably going to limit it to 2 hours, might go 3. It's a little bit more of a challenge because that's going to have to take place during a weekday. And so, I have to get up for work the next morning, So with my current work schedule, I get off at 5, have a bite to eat, and then if I instantly go back in and start streaming at 6, by the time I get off of there, that means I'll have maybe 2-3 hours to do something for myself, and then I got to go to bed. So I haven't decided whether I want to do 2 or 2 or 3 hours. I would prefer 2, but if you guys really want it that bad, I will try for 3. But the donation rules on it are different. With those, no amount of donations is going to extend how long I stay, simply because of the fact that it's going to be happening on a work night. That one is more going to be, donations will be more like kind of like what Shady J does or used to do. You know, a $2 donation, you get to pick a game for me to play, or you know, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. It's not that big a concern for me. Like I said, hardly anyone shows up for it anyway, so I'm not really looking at it as some kind of a revenue stream. So let's catch up here. What was 8th's gag gift over? I actually didn't do it this year. Money was a little tighter, and so I wanted to make sure everything I bought him was something he actually wanted. Ever played Moonlighter? No. What are your thoughts on Top Hat Studios giving the double middle finger to Puritans? I haven't really followed it. I haven't really followed that whole situation. Mine was I changed banks since I filed taxes the last year. They wouldn't let me change my banking info. Oh, that sucks. Give some notice you'll be streaming retro. Well, like I said, tonight, you guys decide what day of the week you want me to do it, and then you will know. And won't need notice because you'll know it happens on that night every week, as long as I'm not sick or something takes me away from it. I have a receiver. That's about all I want to say. 5 years old at this point. I actually use it as my HDMI switch. Works well. Biggest knob to ever live. None of your comments make any sense and aren't relevant to me, or even relevant to anything that I was saying. Well, we know what kind of person this is, so let's just take care of that one right now. All right. Let's see here. Do you think Solo failed because of the pansexual controversy? No. I think primarily Solo failed because, one, there was already Star Wars fatigue setting in, and two, so many people hated The Last Jedi so much that it kind of soiled the reputation of Star Wars to where people were less inclined to go see Solo. And three, there were some people out there that just, no matter how much they tried, they weren't going to be able to accept anyone but Harrison Ford in the role. That's really it. If you take Harrison Ford out of the equation and just try to watch the movie for what it is, it's a fun sci-fi action adventure film. I enjoyed it. I've watched it multiple times. Hi, Nick Neal. I'm cool with Wednesday. Fridays can be busy. Okay, so we have one vote for Wednesday. I thought we weren't getting a $2,000 check, but a $600 check. That is correct. However, the Democratic Party have stated repeatedly that if they took control of the Senate, which it looks like they will, that they were going to push for the full $2,000, which means that when the Senate and everything comes out of recess on around the 20th, I think it is, 20th, 21st, that supposedly they are going to be voting in for the full $2,000. And if Biden signs the bill, that means we all get $2,000 plus whatever for our wife and kids. When will it be easy to get a PS5? Hell if I know. Hard to say with everything going on right now. Yes, that's correct. This is the first 7th cast of 2021. Thoughts on Valsh? I don't really watch him that much. I've seen a few of his videos. I think he's kind of a kook. And so, he doesn't make the kind of content that I give a crap about. So, I don't really think that much of him one way or the other. Let's see. Vaping is based. Hi, 7th. I was spurging on about how you should get an arcade stick fight stick in your last stream. They're great for playing 2D games and fighting games. I used to have one that was specifically for the Xbox, the OG Xbox, and I lost it in the move to Texas. I don't know what happened to it. Maybe it ended up with Sarah. I don't know. But, I wouldn't be opposed to using it for the MAME games, the arcade games, but using it for Nintendo and Super Nintendo and Genesis, I'd rather just have a controller because that's what I'm used to. Is it true that Microsoft tried to buy Nintendo? Yes, back in several years ago, early 2000s, they attempted and failed to buy out Nintendo. What's your favorite Sony platformer? Sly, Ratchet, or Jack? Ratchet. What's 8th's favorite of the three? Ratchet. He's never really shown that much interest in Jack and Daxter or Sly Cooper, although he did beat Sly Cooper, the re-release of Sly Cooper on the PS3. That was one of his first plats, actually. At that time, I had to help him a little bit with the last level. He wasn't on the level gameplay wise that he is now, but he was much younger. But I think that if I remember correctly, that was one of the first games he ever got a plat on in his own account. I'd have to double check that. Let's see here. Have you played Tales of Vesperia Original or Definitive Edition? I've dabbled with the Xbox 360 version a little bit. I don't remember being blown away by it. If that tells you anything. I liked Solo, to be honest. It didn't have the same hook for me that Rogue One did. For me, Rogue One is mostly a really dull, boring movie until the last 20 minutes. Honestly. I have tried to rewatch it several times over the last 6 months, and I end up falling asleep every time. And so I end up missing the best part of the movie, which is the last 20 minutes. Who would win in a sumo match? Hooge or Fake? Oh, God, I don't even know. I think Fat would kick his ass, though. Now that I think about it. Do you think That's another political question. What is not sinking in, folks? This is not a political stream. Why do I have to keep reminding people of that? Seriously. This is not a political stream. Period. How come AAA don't make a lot of fighting games? Well, I mean, it's always been primarily, with the exception of maybe, Mortal Kombat and Killer Instinct, it's been primarily a Japanese phenomenon that was just imported over here. And for a lot of companies that were Western companies that attempted to dip their toe in that well, it didn't end up good for them. And I think that a lot of these companies feel that, with the exception of Mortal Kombat and on a lesser level Killer Instinct, they're still afraid to try because they've developed this kind of mindset that people who are into fighting games only care about fighting games that come out of Japan. Okay, we got another vote for Wednesday. 7th, I have 3 questions for you. Read them out loud. Do you like green eggs and ham? I haven't had it, so I couldn't say. Do you want to slam and welcome to the jam? At the current age that I am, it would probably be wise for me to not attend a jam or to slam at said jam. Do you like face stomp and head ram? I can't say that I've ever had either event occur to me or for me to implement it upon anyone else. 7th, I really enjoy your content. You're a good content creator. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it. Your recommended 3 books. What was the third one? I don't remember. I just remember The Art of Writing. Oh, there was The Art of Writing. Or no, there was On Writing, The Art of Writing Fiction, and then I don't know if I recommended a third one, but what I would recommend is for you to get a book on English grammar, as far as like how to compose a paragraph, how to write in first person, how to write in third person, etc. Let's see here. Got the Dark Souls trilogy for Christmas. Any advice for somebody that's never played Dark Souls? If you want advice on Dark Souls, talk to 8th, not me. I gave up on Tales of Vesperia PC version because it has constant camera stutter when moving on PC, and it was never fixed. The console version works fine via emulation, however. No. Do you think Chad Wardwick was a good troll? Do you mean Chad Warren? Or Chad Warden? Are you thinking of Chad Warden? If you're thinking of him, the PS Triple. Yeah, he was a good troll. He pissed off a lot of people with minimal effort. Chad Warden. Bring back Virtual Fighter. I would not be opposed to Sega reviving Virtual Fighter. Question is, would they? I mean, where'd it stop with? 5? Like 5 TB or whatever? Or, I don't remember there being a Virtual Fighter 6. Let's see here. Hi, Carlos. I used my stimulus to import a pre-owned Vita. Nice. My buddy Jeff, who occasionally shows up in here, the guitar virtuoso that helped with some of my music. I don't know if you guys remember, but 3 weeks ago he was in the chat and he said that he was looking to get rid of a bunch of his gaming stuff and he was just going to ship it to me. He let me know yesterday that he's sending 2 big boxes full of stuff. I do not know the specifics of everything that's in there, but I know it's mostly PlayStation stuff. And I do know that it's going to include the original 60 gig model of the PS3 that's PS2 backwards compatible. So I'll finally have the beast back. And it's in good working order. He checked all of that before boxing it up. So I don't know exactly when it's going to arrive, but when I do get it, I will be doing a full unboxing of everything he sent. Because he told me it was going to have multiple systems and a ton of games in it. Don't know what games. I will tell you that for the most part, Jeff has a somewhat different taste in games than I do, so there's no telling what's in there. But I'm looking forward to it, and I will unbox it and show everybody what he sent. It goes without saying that, he didn't have to do that. He could have taken that stuff and sold it on eBay or sold it in a yard sale or sold it however he wanted to, and instead he just boxed it up and shipped it to me. So let's see here. Hey, 7th, I recommend you say the questions in your head first before reading them out loud, as some trolls may call you to say slurs in their names. Okay. Why, have I done that already today? I mean, so far the only troll we've had in here called himself the biggest knob to ever live. That's not exactly a slur. Seventh, have you seen the Netflix TV show Bad Blood? If not, I highly recommend. No, I have not. There was a Dead or Alive 6, but not a Virtual Fighter 6. Okay. Did you like season 3 of Cobra Kai? It was okay. It was okay. I mean, there's some stuff that show. There's a lot of stuff in it that's just cheesy by definition, and it was heavy on the cheese this time around, real heavy on the cheese. And now that they're bringing back the Silver character from Karate Kid 3, I hated that character because he was so badly overacted, and I just dread them bringing him back because he was cringe in character. Chad Warden or El Presidor? Well, Chad Warden was kind of a flash in the pan. He made a few vids and then he was gone. El Presidor was around for a couple of years and is still around, just not doing what he used to do. So just by longevity, I'd have to go with El Presidor. Do you like martial arts movies? Or do you know martial art movie actors like Tony Jaa? I like them, but, you know, a lot of the stuff that comes out now is kind of generic. So I still like martial arts movies if they have a good hook, but a lot of the stuff is rehashes of stuff that I watched back in the 80s when I was a kid. Would you ever consider making your own game? I lack the skills. I would be more of the idea guy. You know, the guy that comes up with the general idea of what the game is, writes the dialogue, the scenarios, blah, blah, blah. But I don't have any coding skills or actually making one. And, you know, I don't know Unity. I'm not a big artist, so, you know, character design is completely beyond me. Those fat PS3s and 360s are ticking time bombs. Well, I mean, this one is, what, 14 years old at this point, and it's still going strong, so. And plus, there's very little in a PS3. You know, I would definitely agree with a launch 360, but there's very little in the launch PS3 that can't be easily fixed if you have like some soldering skills. I have a box full of dead consoles because of 24/7 Call of Duty sessions. Well, you ought not have done that, Jimmy. Hey, 7th, I think the Ratchet Future Trilogy on PS3 is the best ones, even better than the PS2. What do you think? I really liked Tools of Destruction and A Crack in Time. I wasn't as big a fan of End of the Nexus because it was half the size and they had dropped it back to 30 frames per second. Thoughts on Birds of Prey? Hated it. I hate Final Fantasy with a passion for the sole reason being that it's boring turn-based combat, but my question is, why is every girl thirsting for Cloud in the remake? I don't know. I'm not female. Hey man, how are you? I'm doing fine, video game lover. Anyway, I haven't caught one of your live streams before tonight, but I've been subject to you since you did your don't buy this shit on the Xbox One. Subbed. You've been subject to me. Like I've been this constant pain in your side since you first found me. 7th, what are your thoughts on the Season 2 finale of The Mandalorian? I thought it was very well done. I think they could have done better on the CG of Luke. The reason being is, say, for example, the de-aging that they did for Kurt Russell in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 looks much more realistic than Luke does in that footage. I think it would have been better if they had actually brought in Mark Hamill and had him filmed from the neck up and then just use that de-aging technique instead of CG generating his head like they did in Rogue One. Do you think Cobra Kai is fan service? In some ways, definitely. Like, for example, bringing Allie back. And Allie didn't really serve much of any purpose in the plot. At all. She was in one episode. She was there simply so the fans could see her again. I used my first stimulus check to get an RTX 2070. Now I used my second to get a G-Sync monitor. Well, good. Thoughts on Amazing Spider-Man movie series? I did not like them. Thoughts on Wonder Woman 84? It was trash. Absolute trash. That movie was terrible. That was the Superman 3 of Wonder Woman movies. The last turn-based console traditional Final Fantasy game, as in numbered Final Fantasy game, would have been Final Fantasy X. Because Final Fantasy 12 wasn't true turn-based. So the only other place you could play turn-based Final Fantasy was in handhelds or re-releases of old games. So you're talking Final Fantasy X, which Final Fantasy X came out in what, 2001? So that would be like 19 years ago. Almost 20 years ago. Almost. What's the best live show you've ever experienced? Probably Kiss. I saw Kiss live with Cobra and the Lotus and Def Leppard. That was a tremendous show. At the same time, I've been to the Warped Tour once. In 2000, I went to Punk-A-Rama and I got to see All live, Straight-Faced, Agnostic Front, Voodoo Glow Skulls. That was quite a show. But as far as like production value and overall spectacle and excitement, it was kind of hard to top that Kiss show. Final Fantasy is an overrated POS. The best Final Fantasy title is Crystal Chronicles. Yeah, I said it. Fight me. Whatever goodwill Crystal Chronicles had was destroyed by the Crystal Chronicles sequel that was made for the Wii. So, just saying. Seven, do you think Star Wars fans have a right to get emotional for the return in The Mandalorian? I think it's justified since Rian Johnson destroyed Luke's character. Yeah, I don't blame anyone that gets a teary eye for it. I mean, it didn't make me cry, but my heart rate went up. I can tell you that. It got my adrenaline going to see him kicking ass the way I always wanted to see Luke kick ass. Maybe not quite as much as I wanted to, because I wanted to see Luke doing some of the ultra-fast acrobatic shit that Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan were doing in The Phantom Menace. But, yeah, it was still like, seeing Luke, crush droids with his fourth strength and, a combination of no-look blocks and crushing bad guys by moving stuff with the Force while he's fighting at the same time. It was very well done. It was very well done. I watched Wonder Woman 1984. No 80s music. Talk about bad decision making. Film was a waste of my time, and I've seen Wild Wild West. Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And just like Superman 3, a major pivotal plot point of the plot is a superpowered rock. I'm just saying. Thoughts on Goldberg fighting Drew? I don't watch wrestling anymore, so I've never even seen a match with Drew. Don't know anything about him, so I don't care. Sounds like an awesome concert. Oh, it was. It was me, 8th, and Sarah, the second Mrs. 7th. and we all went to see it. Thought it was going to get rained out, but they ended up holding it anyway, and it was fantastic. My only complaint was that Def Leppard were trying to cram as much into the stage time that they had, and so for some reason, they doubled the tempo on Let's Get Rocked. And so they played it at twice speed, and it just didn't sound right at all. But, Pour Some Sugar on Me sounded great. That most of the songs they played, were from the Hysteria album, and it was just a great show. And their guitar player is still in tremendous shape. I mean, their lead singer has lost some of his singing voice to some extent, but overall, sounded great. And Cobra and the Lotus kicked ass. They've softened up and become more poppy over the years, but at that time, they were still doing the whole Iron Maiden with a female lead singer vibe, and they just crushed it. They were fantastic. Ever played the Lord of the Rings games on PS2? I have one of them. I don't remember which one. I have the Third Age, but I have it on OG Xbox because the graphics are slightly better. Very similar to Final Fantasy X, but that game is, John Smith, that game is so easy to break because if you level your guys up right, you'll have a mage who has one spell that completely replenishes the health of the entire team, and one spell that'll raise a fallen character from the dead. So you fight with two guys, and then the third character, the mage, every turn you either cast full health to everybody or you cast that revive dead character, and as long as you keep doing that, it's damn near impossible to lose a fight in that game. Do you feel old that 2001 is 20 years old now? I feel old about just about everything. I mean, look at me. Look at me. It's like I said last night. Look. I'm the old guy from Dragon Ball now. Def Leppard is a fun band. I think they were better than they get credit for. Absolutely. I've said this before, and people look at me like I'm nuts, but I believe it to this day. Def Leppard were the Beatles of hair metal. Period. Are you looking forward to the Lord of the Rings TV series? Not really. That PS2 Lord of the Rings RPG is funny because the point of the game is you control a party analogous to the Fellowship, kind of like stand-ins, and you're always trailing after the real Fellowship. Yeah, you're clones of the actual characters of the story. It is kind of fun. It's like you're their stunt double. It's the game that's the story of their stunt doubles. Do you like Little Nicky? Yes, I love that movie. Ray Thicklin. Wow. Lol Master Roshi. Yeah. That's who I am. See? I look just like him. Except, of course, I'm not Asian. Are you excited about the next Mass Effect? No, because the last Mass Effect was ass. It was ass. I still have hope in BioWare. Well, that's more than I've got. Thoughts on Cyberpunk 2077? Well, I beat it. I have not platted it, but I beat it. I decided that I was not going to go for the plat and finish up the trophies I missed until the PS5 update comes out. When that update comes out, then I will go back and try to pick up the trophies that I didn't get. It was okay. It's missing a lot of the functionality and features that they said was going to be in the game. It's a lot more basic than they said it was going to be. That being said, I still had fun simply because I played it as a big open world first person shooter. And that's how I went through it. I didn't use a whole lot of melee. I primarily went through shooting the crap out of everybody. Are you going to watch the Loki TV series? Sure. Andromeda was awful, yeah, but there's still a chance. I don't know. Favorite gun in sci-fi media? Favorite gun? Haven't really thought about it that much. I would have to say if there was a replica gun from any sci-fi media. I mean, I'd like to have the standards like Han Solo's pistol, for example. But the replica I would want the most was the standard issue rifle from Aliens, the one that Hicks sits down and shows Ripley how to use it. That's the gun I would want if I was going to get a replica firearm from a sci-fi movie or show. That being said, if somebody offered me a Star Trek II The Wrath of Khan issue phaser, I wouldn't turn it away, because that was kind of a badass phaser. Instead of just shooting like a typical round beam, it shot like a horizontal beam, and it had like this kind of horizontal look to it. It was really different look than previous Star Trek phasers, and I just kind of dug that one. I did not like the phasers in Star Trek The Next Generation at all, because they went too far in trying to make it look not like a gun, and so it looks like some kind of a personal hair care appliance or something, looks like something that you would squirt icing on a cake with. Maybe it doesn't look like a weapon. Can you kill cops in Cyberpunk? Yes, you can. If it counts as sci-fi, then all the weapons from Fallout New Vegas. Okay. But yeah, I'm excited to get that foot pedal and sit and play with it and build all the noises that I want. I've wanted one of those big multi-pedal foot pedal boards for a long time. I've just kind of avoided it. But now that I've had a taste of getting back into making music, one thing about the song that I put out a couple of months ago is I wasn't really happy with the quality of the guitar sound. And so that's why I decided, I want to get a foot pedal that I can run directly into the PC and not have to mic an amp. And so that's why I decided to buy it, and I'm really excited to try it out. Do you think gaming should be unionized? Do you mean like game development? Game development might benefit from it. I don't really see any other point in unionizing other than for game developers. Although that would potentially cause severe delays in the production of games. We wouldn't get games as quickly as we do now. How was Christmas? Christmas was Christmas. 8th got most of what he wanted. There was a couple of records that he had on his list that I wasn't able to find for a decent price, but otherwise he got most of what he asked for. What are you vaping there? I am vaping straightforward Vape Dojo menthol. This bottle's almost empty. I've been working this one for a couple of weeks. I've already got a couple other bottles of the same company, but it's mint menthol, and I'm going to try it and see if I like it better. Earlier you said Microsoft tried to buy out Nintendo. If they'd been successful, do you think Microsoft would have done Zelda and Mario justice? No. I mean, look what happened to Rare. If you want to know what would have happened to Nintendo, just look at the state of Rare today. Thoughts on the new Space Jam movie? I didn't like the first one, so why would I like this one? You know, I at least liked and was familiar with Michael Jordan. I'm not going to be able to say the same about whoever is starring in this one. When is the Rainbow Six Siege U.S. Capitol? Wouldn't know if it was. Wouldn't know if it was, because I don't play those games. You need to buy him Van Halen's debut album, Pink Floyd's The Wall, Hysteria, and Thriller. Well, he already has Hysteria and Thriller. He has Hysteria and he has Thriller. If you want to know, I can tell you some, not all, but I can tell you most of the albums that I did buy for him. Hang on just a second. Let me look here. Let's see. Let's look. I got him Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction, the original soundtrack to Edward Scissorhands, AC/DC Back in Black, Stranger Things Season 3 soundtrack. His mom sent him Stranger Things Seasons 1 and 2 on LP for Christmas. Let's see here. Descendants Summary, which is an album that has the best songs from everything the Descendants put out prior to Everything Sucks. Sum 41's All Killer No Filler album. Ghostbusters original soundtrack. Ghostbusters original song soundtrack. So it's two separate double albums. Bon Jovi Slippery When Wet. Michael Jackson's Thriller, Green Day's Dookie, Transformers the Movie original soundtrack, Stephen King's or John Carpenter and Stephen King's Christine original soundtrack, limited edition Ghost of Tsushima original soundtrack, Conan the Barbarian original soundtrack, Bohemian Rhapsody soundtrack, Man of Steel soundtrack from Hans Zimmer. This was a limited release, only 2,000 made, double album, and the vinyl is see-through red. Let's see what else. Bloodborne original soundtrack. Kiss World, The Best of Kiss double LP. The original soundtrack to the motion film Akira. From Amaranth, the Manifest album, Breaking Benjamin's Ember album, mainly because that was the only Breaking Benjamin on LP I could find. And I want to say there's a couple other ones in there somewhere that I'm forgetting about. So yeah, I got him over 20 records for Christmas. Microsoft literally lied to their Kinect devs about the specs of the device. So most of the early Kinect projects had to get scrapped when Microsoft downgraded the hardware. Thoughts on Streets of Rage 4? I haven't played it that much. I've played just a few minutes of it. Like maybe to the 3rd level. Same thing with River City Girls. I have River City Girls. But I haven't played it that much. Oh, that's another thing I bought. I bought an external 1 terabyte hard drive. Or was it 2 terabytes? It might be 2 terabytes. But I bought an external hard drive for my PS5 so I could put PS4 games on it without flooding the SSD. So that'll allow me to install some PS4 games until the new internal SSDs that the PS5 supports comes out. waiting for Paprium to get dumped. I'm not spending $150 for a cart. Won't take long. Won't take long. One of the things that I pointed out last night is, for those of you who follow the retro community, Gamester81, who I've met a couple of times, his company has a game they made called Sydney Hunter, which is kind of it almost feels like a spiritual successor to Montezuma's Revenge in some ways. When I got this Chinese import console, I noticed almost immediately that on Super Nintendo, the Super Nintendo version of Sydney Hunter was on there. And he just put that game out not too long ago, and they're already giving it away on retro consoles out of China. And so the first thing that I did was I hit him up and let him know that his game was on this system. Agent Red Cert, River City Ransom was a fun game. That was one that got rented a lot. I never owned it. I own it now. I never owned it back in the day. I just rented it. What does he think about vinyl as far as sound goes? He was skeptical at first, but now he has a 20-year-old Techniques record player and still works like new. And he has been made a believer. And so now it's like if he likes a soundtrack, the first thing he does is look to see if there's a vinyl of it. Audio equipment will last a long time as long as you take care of it. But of course, here I am buying him a new receiver when he's got a 25-year-old receiver, and the reason being is because the left speaker output keeps cutting out. So there's a short in there somewhere, and I don't have the soldering skills to fix it, if it even is something that needs to be soldered or if it's something else. So I'm just going to put that receiver in my closet and I bought him this new one for his birthday. Let me look and see which one. I can't even remember which receiver I bought. It's a Denon. I remember that. Let me see. Let me go back to page 1, see what receiver I bought him. It's the Denon AVR S65OH audio receiver. 5.2 surround. I didn't get the 7.1 because we don't have the speaker system to support 7 channels. 4K UHD home theater surround sound. Music streaming, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. It's got Alexa support, but who cares about that? It was $400. Denon had a good reputation. It looked like it was going to do everything he wanted it to do. It's 30 watts more power per channel than the 25-year-old Techniques receiver that I gave him. And so he'll get a little bit more sound out of it. It'll sound a little bit better. It'll sound just a little bit better. Hey, 7th, how you doing? I'm doing all right, rephrased in a race. I'm doing all right. I finally saw Enter the Dragon for the first time yesterday. Holy cow, what an amazing film. Bruce Lee is the greatest of all time. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You remind me of a cross between Scott Steiner and Fred Durst. I don't know how to respond to that. I'm not a particular fan of either one of those individuals. Oh, and that reminds me. There are 2 hours remaining. We have had 0 donations thus far. We are $50 away from the 10 o'clock goal. It's not just the movies. Bruce Lee invented an entire fighting style. True. People look for retro games at flea markets. Also true. Kid with the golden arms, like samurai movies, awesome. Okay. I look at furniture and audio equipment. I'm getting old. I couldn't tell you the last time I've been to a flea market. And the last time I did go to a flea market, I didn't find anything. The PS5 is tanking in Japan. Is it too early to say? What are your thoughts? Uh, Traditional consoles have been going down in popularity in Japan in general, simply because that society is so mobile. Mobile gaming has been taking over Japan for over a decade now. So when you consider how big the PS5 is and how much people appreciate small electronics there that don't take up a lot of space in their apartment, then I can understand why the PS5 wouldn't be doing so hot there. I'm not saying that the whole uh, uh, censoring Japanese games thing hasn't played a factor in it. I'm sure it has, but it's not the sole reason. That being said, Japan has taken up such a relatively small percentage of PlayStation's success over the last two generations that I question how much it matters. Aside from, are we still going to be getting decent Japanese games from Japan, brought over to the States? Now these Xbox fans that think that this means that the Xbox Series X is going to become some kind of phenomenon in Japan, well, think again. What inspired you to be a YouTuber? El Presidor and the Angry Video Game Nerd. Are you satisfied with your viewership after coming back to YouTube? Yes and no. I'd like to see it growing more, but then again, I don't do what other streamers do. So, I understand that what I do on the 7thCast is not something that appeals to a large number of people to begin with. Seventh, do you like Rush Hour with Jackie Chan? Not especially, no. Not especially. Xbox Series X or PS4? Which one would you buy? Well, I haven't bought an Xbox Series X, but I own multiple PS4s. I'm just saying. And at this point, I own multiple PS5s if you count the one that is 8th. Do you like fishing or hunting? Not really. I mean, I used to go fishing a lot with my dad just to have something to do with my dad, but that was the only reason that I went, was just so I could have hangout time with my old man. It wasn't because I actually enjoyed it. Because to me, fishing is boring. You sit there and you stare at a little floater waiting for it to bob. So, fishing is more about, for me anyway, it was more about spending time with the people that you have out there with you. It's certainly not something I'd go do by myself, and it's not something that I would take 8th to do because I know he wouldn't have any interest in it either. What do you think about the message from the Zodiac Code that's been cracked? I think it's interesting, but then again, there wasn't really anything in there that would verify their theories as to who the Zodiac Killer was. At least nothing that's been made known to the public. Suffice it to say, the guy never ended up in jail or executed, so he kind of won, didn't he? Did I like Ghost of Tsushima? Yeah, it was a pretty fun game. Combat took a little get used to, but I thought it was good. In some ways, it was the feudal Japan main series Assassin's Creed that we never got. In some ways. New rover is a couple of months away from Mars. It's supposed to detect microbes. Well, good for them. 7th, do you think... I think you meant Jon Favreau, not Dave Favreau. Do you think Jon Favreau and Filoni should overtake Star Wars? Yes. I think they're the only ones that can save it. Well, I don't know if they're the only ones, but they're the best ones that's on the payroll. They're the best ones that are on the payroll. Is Anthem ever coming back? I can't see Anthem being a success at this point. I mean, nothing's impossible. Look at No Man's Sky. But I just don't know. I just don't know. Do 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 do. I don't remember what this one does. What does this one do? I think that makes a fart noise. Not sure. By the way, if you hear a buzzing in the background, that's my heater. This particular room doesn't get very good heating, and in the summer it doesn't get very good air conditioning. So I have a little personal heater over here. Turned it off. It was warm enough in here. I don't need it anymore. Do you think there's something about the theory that intelligence is linked? No. Do you think urban chaos should return? Well, it wasn't exactly a financial success, as I recall. I don't remember spending a tremendous amount of time with it. How has No Man's Sky improved? Have you gone back to it? I haven't gone back to it, but 8th has played it, and he says it's like a totally different game at this point. That it has so many different features and gameplay elements to it, as opposed to what it was like when it first came out, that you wouldn't even recognize it as the same game anymore. Is Rey better than Master Yoda? I tend to doubt it. Have you tried the game Blasphemous? No. Did you ever do that fart prank on your boss? No, never got around to it. He left the company before I had the chance. And now I work from home, so. Thoughts on Xbox possibly copying PS5 DualSense for the Xbox controller? Well, it wouldn't necessarily be copying, because Microsoft had a patent they put out a couple of years ago for very, very similar mechanics in a controller, and they just never implemented it. It's not exactly the same, but it basically accomplishes the same effect. They just never went through with it. How was your pagan holiday? You spelled pagan wrong. How was my pagan holiday? Do you think 2021 is going to be the worst? Well, it's certainly not going to be the best. Worst is debatable, but it's certainly not going to be the best. Come on down a little bit. There we go. There we go. Shoot. Damn. Man. What the hell? Xbox having DualSense is more incentive for the devs to implement it on PS5. Whichever console has something the other doesn't, devs always opt for parity. True. What have you been doing since you skipped 2 weeks? Well, I skipped 2 weeks because those 2 weekends were holiday weekends. I've told you guys before, I don't stream on holiday weekends. So the first weekend was Christmas weekend, and then the second one was New Year's weekend. So I had 2 weeks in a row that were holiday weekends. That's why I didn't stream. 2020s versus 1920s, which will be spicier? Well, what do you think? What do you think? I wasn't around for the 1920s. I'm old, but I'm not that old. 7th, would you ever visit Nintendo Land at Universal? If it was safe to do so. But then again, that would mean flying out to Florida, and I don't know if I'm in any rush to do that. There's so much to do in Texas that I haven't even done yet. I haven't been to either Six Flags. I haven't been to the Texas Sea World. I haven't been to the Alamo. I've been here 4 years, and I've seen very little of Texas. I've been to Retropalooza, and that's been about it. Just is what it is. And in fact, when we were planning to go to Retropalooza in this past October, 8th was, since it takes place right next to Six Flags, 8th was wanting to go to Six Flags while we were there, since we hadn't been to either one of the Six Flags in Texas. And, I was planning on that, and then it didn't happen. Do you think there will be enough vaccines available for the public by the end of this year? I have no idea. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not in politics. Can we get a new game in 2021 that's not Cyberpunk 2077? I think you meant Cyberpunk 2077. And we don't have to do updates to fix a game that's not ready to be released. Well, that's been going on for the last 2 generations, so get used to it, unfortunately. Isn't digital distribution wonderful? It allows people to release unfinished games and fix it later, or choose not to bother fixing it if they don't feel that it's financially beneficial to them. 7th, why do the beaches at Texas suck? I don't know. They're just not good. I mean, the ones that I've seen, they're fairly close to oil refineries and stuff, so there's like pollution. The water is brown. It's not blue like it is on the west coast of Florida, even though they're both on the Gulf of Mexico, so I don't really understand that. You don't get to nice, clean, white, sandy beaches till you get down south towards Corpus Christi, which that's getting down closer to the border, which not recommended. So there's a real drug gang contingent that you have to worry about the closer you get down there. Most of the beaches that I've seen, it's brown sand instead of white sand, and Dang, 7th, this will be 5 years. No, 4 years. 4 years. I moved to Texas in January of 2017. So this is my 4th year here, not 5. Returnal is coming out this March. Are you interested? I'm not super interested, but 8th is. How bad was Pol Pot? How would I know? I wasn't even alive. And if I was at any given point of his regime, I was an infant and wouldn't remember any of it, and I was in America, countless miles away from him. So I feel bad for the SeaWorld over there, 7th. Poor fish. I wouldn't be going for the sea life. I'd be going to just kind of sit around and wait for 8th to ride the roller coasters. Who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl? I don't care. I don't follow sports. Why did you pre-order Cyberpunk? I didn't. I didn't pre-order Cyberpunk. I got it for $40 new. And that's mainly the reason I bought it. I was going to wait for the PS5 version to come out, but they had it for $39.95 on Amazon for a deal, and so I bought it. Just to have something to play over my 18 days off. Texas has a lot of tourism. Texas also has good weather. Texas has more than steakhouses. I think really it's more known for its barbecue than its steak, but it also has a lot of music venues. $5 from Black Mamba. Thank you, Black Mamba. Appreciate the $5, sir. That means we are $45 away from the 10 o'clock goal. So you get the, let me see here. You get the dollar bill. There you go. Fall of 2016 was when I found out that I'd be relocated to Texas. I found out fall of 2016. I made the move in January of 2017. Do you and 8th ever arm wrestle? No. 7th, if they remade Zelda Skyward Sword, would they make the motion controls an optional way of playing it? I would hope so, since, it would need to be optional, not mandatory, because we no longer have Wii-shaped controllers. Wiimote-shaped. Don't you have to like country music and go into hootenannies? No. Texas has, rock, country, blues. It has everything. It has everything. It's not just country music. I want the Powerball. Yeah, I'd like to win the Powerball too. Who wouldn't? Of course, to win the Powerball, you have to play, and I don't play. Do you watch the YouTuber Auditing America? No, never heard of him. Never heard of him. Or her. Whatever. Not a YouTuber I am familiar with. What YouTubers would you recommend for creepypasta and mystery stuff? I don't really do the creepypasta thing as far as like mysteries or, spooky YouTube. Now I can't remember I watch a channel called Nexpo. That's the one I primarily watch for that kind of thing. Every now and again I'll watch a video from Scary Theater or whatever, but mostly it's Nexpo. I just like his production quality. I like the music he uses. And he covers interesting subjects. So I stick with Nexpo. Nexpo. 7th, do you think open world games should give you a chance to build a foundation for yourself so you can level up and learn as opposed to just being thrown right into the hard fray of difficulty? Most open world games that I've played, they start you out with simple missions that you can do with entry level stuff. I've not run into an open world game where the minute I start, I'm getting hit by overpowered enemies that I'd have to be super high level to be able to narrow down their life bars skinny little chunk by skinny little chunk for an hour long fight to destroy a regular enemy. I haven't had that happen to me in an open world game. Not unless I intentionally went trying to get into an area that I wasn't at the proper level to be at yet, because I was trying to sneak past enemies to get to a particular item that I wanted to get prior to when I was actually supposed to get it in the flow of the game. Are you a good cook? I wouldn't call myself a cook. I know how to prepare specific things. Like, I can cook a hamburger, I can cook a steak, I can make spaghetti, that kind of thing. But I wouldn't call myself a cook. Do you think the Hogwarts game is going to be successful? I would say that fan base at this point is pretty starved for good Harry Potter universe content. So I would say that it could be successful as long as it was a good game. That's because Ark is a survival game. It's not just an open world RPG. It's a survival RPG. That's a different animal entirely. It's not that you're playing the wrong game, you're playing in the wrong genre. Are you excited for that arcade shooter style zombie game Back for Blood? Well, Back for Blood is basically Left 4 Dead 3 or Left 4 Dead 4 or whatever you want to call it. I think it should be Left 4 Dead 3 because I don't think they ever made a 3. Do you think J.K. Rowling should stay away from? I think anyone who's a celebrity, insofar as like an author or an actor or a movie producer or a musician, should stay the hell out of politics because no one cares what they think. All this shit about you're in the public eye, you could do something. No, just shut up and make your stuff. None of us need to hear what you have to think about it. None of us. What are your opinions on the Perfect Dark reboot? I don't know. All I've seen is a cinematic trailer. I never was a big fan of the series to begin with. Do you think Orpha is a sellout? I don't know who Orpha is. Have you beaten Miles Morales? I haven't even played Miles Morales yet. I went from well, crap. I went from Astrobot straight into Cyberpunk, and then the minute I was done with Cyberpunk, I started playing Ass Creed Vikings. So I haven't even gotten to Miles Morales yet. I don't know who Orpha is. Speaking of Rare, what about like Donkey Kong Country in the modern day? Well, Donkey Kong Country has been in the semi-modern day. It was on the Wii and the Wii U, and now it's on the Switch. From that Next Level Games or Retro Games or whatever the name of that company is. The same ones that made Metroid Prime. What are the most valuable games you own? The most valuable game I own is complete in box Panzer Dragoon Saga, which is going for over $1,000 these days. I also own Crusader of Sentai on the Genesis. It goes for like $300. I've got several that are worth over $100, and then in the $200 to $300 range. But the one that's most valuable by far is that box complete Panzer Dragoon Saga. It's getting up to Little Samson prices. Oprah. I don't watch Oprah. I've never watched Oprah. I'm not a talk show person. 7th, do you think Nintendo should bring back the Virtual Console instead of having the eShop? I think so. Why is Texas so strict? I haven't seen anything overly strict about Texas compared to any other state. Better sell it before they remake it. Panzer Dragoon Saga would be a hard one to make because the reason you've never seen it show up on like a Virtual Console or a remaster or whatever is apparently Sega lost the source files to it, so they no longer have the game to re-release it. I heard a rumor that they're remaking the original Metal Gear in like the Unreal Engine or something. Not sure. I had heard a rumor that a remake of Metal Gear Solid was the next game coming from Bluepoint, the guys that redid Demon Souls and Shadow of the Colossus, but I don't know if it's true. Do you cook spaghetti in the proper way without breaking them in half? It depends. Depends on the size of the pot I have more than anything else. Did you hear that AEW has teamed up with Impact Wrestling? Why? Why? Just another good reason for why I got out of it when I did. So much the better. So much the better. I don't know why that $5 didn't show up in my little gold bar. That gold bar should say $5 up there now, and it doesn't. Something's gone wrong with my donation bar again. Stupid thing. I don't know what the deal is. Yeah, Twin Snakes was more or less. The Panzer Dragoon on Rails flying game was remastered for PS4 recently. That wasn't a remaster, that was a full-on remake. Uh, but that one wasn't lost. It was Saga that was lost. Seventh, people keep saying movie theaters are going to go out of business. I'm just sad that game arcades are going to go if they haven't already. Well, I mean, the traditional arcades for the most part have been gone for a long time now anyway. Uh, it's been kept alive with barcades and places like Dave and Buster's and pinballs and stuff like that. So, hopefully this vaccine will get things back to more of a semblance of normalcy so we can start going to these places again without having to worry about it. Speaking of Texas, we're expected to get 3 to 5 inches of snow starting tonight, tomorrow morning. Where in Texas do you live, Red Shirt? Are you in North Texas? Because they're the ones that get snow more than where I'm at. I haven't seen any significant snow here where I live in a couple of years, and even then it was only maybe just enough on the ground to where you could see it. It didn't really disrupt driving anywhere. We didn't have any power outages or anything. Do you like Brock Lesnar? Not especially. China versus Russia versus America. Who's going to fall first? Who knows? Don't know about that kind of stuff. This is your third warning tonight, Shadow Diaz. This is not a political channel. Swear to God. Wish they'd release Quiet Place 2 to streaming services already. They should. I'm really curious to see Coming to America 2. I thought it was a bad idea when I first heard about it, but after seeing the trailer, now I really want to see it. Dallas versus Austin versus Houston. Well, I haven't really spent any time in Dallas. I've only been in the Fort Worth area. And I haven't been in Houston that much either. So I can't really say. And to be honest with you, I haven't even done that much in Austin. I've only been downtown maybe twice since I moved here. Most of the time, I just stick to my own little area. No, I don't miss having winters. I'm in North Texas by Fort Worth. Yeah, see, I'm down outside of Austin in the center of the state. It's typically warmer here, so we don't get hit as much with that. Seventh, what version of Star Trek do you recommend I check out? The old ones? I like the original series and the original 6 movies. The Next Generation was okay, and the first of J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movies was okay. Into Darkness had its moments, but Cumberbatch as Khan didn't make any sense, and the third one felt like the Star Trek Insurrection of that series. It didn't feel like it built on the story of the previous 2 films. It felt more like a one-shot 2-hour episode of a Star Trek show that didn't exist, and I just didn't like it all that much. If they had built on the story that Into Darkness set up, kind of like The Search for Spock built on the story that The Wrath of Khan set up, then it would have been better. But instead, it was more of a kind of a one-shot story that wasn't directly connected to the other films in any real way outside of the cast. So I just didn't care for it. Do you get, I used to love to travel. I'm not all that interested in traveling around in my own town because, I like to go on road trips. But then again, with everything going on right now, road trip's not a good idea. Do you get tornadoes where you are? Tornadoes pop up all over Texas, but there hasn't been one in my area since I moved here. Why doesn't Nintendo go third party? It worked for Sega. Pride and financial success. They don't need to go the route that Sega did because they're not losing money on their hardware. Will you do a proper Retropalooza vlog for the next one? What do you mean by proper? You mean like streaming it live? I'm not really big enough for that. I'm not a big enough name to put that much work into it. I'd rather just walk around and film stuff and then do an episode. I platinumed Cyberpunk after 20 crashes and countless numbers of bugs. Good game, but not game-changing. What do you give it out of 7? As it stands, probably about a 5. 7th, do you think Kevin Feige did a good job with the MCU? For the most part, there was a few duds. I love the movies, but I'll admit, I feel like I have to marathon all of them as opposed to watching a random one. That's because only the original movie of any of the series was in the MCU feels like a self-contained film. Every sequel after the first film just feels like a 90 minute to 2 hour episode of a TV show. Whereas the first film in each series feels like a self-contained superhero film. So Iron Man, Thor, Doctor Strange, etc. Those feel like self-contained films. But then the rest of them, they feel like just, an episode of a show. A 20-minute video where you show the main attractions. Well, I've done that, but at the same time, a lot of the time when they have panels or whatnot, I haven't sat in on a lot of the panels simply because I'm usually busy walking around or helping Captain Retro with his booth or what have you. Do you think PS5 and Series X should have been put on hold? They both probably could have done with another, 6 months in the can before coming out. Have you watched Wonder Woman 84? What are your thoughts? I already talked about that, but yes, I've watched it and it stunk. Do you ever play Ni no Kuni? I platted the original one. I beat the second one, but I don't believe I platted it. I'd have to go back and look. I can't remember. I think I just beat it. I think that's a good description of the Marvel sequel. 7th, they do feel like episodes extensions. Who is the most overrated YouTuber? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't, honestly, there's only a very limited amount of YouTubers that I watch. And if somebody recommended me someone and I watched them and didn't like them, I didn't think of them as overrated or underrated. I'm just like, this content's not for me. No, I'm not looking forward to Hitman 3. It's a stealth game, and I don't like stealth games. What do you think of Sony letting the Killzone license expire? Not surprising. What should we do about scalping? Well, currently there's not really a whole lot you can do about it. Not as long as the retailer is going to let it happen. Do you think Rocky films should have stopped after the fourth? Rocky probably, technically speaking, should have stopped after the first. Because it was a very well done, self-contained story. It didn't necessarily need sequels. But yeah, I honestly, I think it should have stopped after the third. I mean, I loved Rocky 4, but it is cheesy as hell. Is Birds of Prey worth watching on HBO Max? Not really. Thoughts on WWF No Mercy for the N64? It was okay. However, I preferred the WCW games on N64. I liked the control scheme better. That Donkey Reviews guy. Donkey? Donkey for me is kind of hit and miss because sometimes he talks about subjects that I don't have any interest in. But he's done some videos that I thought were legitimately funny. Whoa, what familiars did you use? I just started playing it. I can't seem to let myself get rid of the free familiars. I don't remember, man. That was a long time ago. I played that game years ago on PS3. Who is the worst YouTuber you have ever seen? Oh my God. That's a really broad thing, man. Like, yeah, I've seen some pretty bad YouTubers. There was a YouTuber who was on the Xbox side of things back in the day, and he had some kind of a mental dysfunction. He had to try to put it politely, he had a differently shaped head, but that's not what made him bad. What made him bad was his content. He basically would just watch what one of the other Xbox 360 guys said and then parrot it in his own video, almost word for word. And he was one of the worst I've ever seen. I just can't remember his name now. He kind of dropped off the face of the earth after MLD quit. Are you getting the 4K Lord of the Rings trilogy? I haven't bought anything in 4K. If it's streaming in 4K, I'll watch it in 4K. But, you know, I don't really buy... When it comes to movies, I've kind of given up on physical media because I just get tired of rebuying the same movies over and over again every time a newer format comes out. Because my luck is that, I'll go and buy it. I'll go and buy the 4K version, and then the 8K version will come out after I've just spent $100 buying this. And so I just got tired of it. No, I liked Ni no Kuni 1 much better than Ni no Kuni 2, because Ni no Kuni 2 was not really directly related story-wise to the first game. And they took a lot of the best mechanics of the first game out. Seventh, when was rumbling features of controllers a thing? In the 90s, right? My first memory of rumble was in the 90s. Yeah, it was the rumble pack for the N64 controller and the DualShock for the PS1. Those are my first rumble memories. I think there was I want to say that there was a PC flight stick or something prior to those two controllers that had a form of rumble in it, but I could be wrong on that. Thoughts on Jon Favreau in the second season of Mandalorian? Do you think he managed to save the franchise? I think that what he is doing is riding the ship, but at the same time, you also have this High Republic crap that was released after the end of season 2 of Mandalorian, which was almost, the Kathleen Kennedy side of Star Wars saying, "Oh, we're not gone, we're not done yet," but nobody's buying it. So we'll see what happens there. The first game was a pocket monster game, right? Well, the first Ni no Kuni had a Pokemon-ish element to it because you could capture all these different little monsters and get them to fight for you. And by using them in fights, you could level them up and get them to be more powerful and things of that nature. And that was replaced with this other little mechanic in Ni no Kuni 2 with these little crowds of these little imp-looking things that you could send to fight your enemies. But it wasn't the same, and it didn't work the same. No, I haven't liked any of the Purge films. The Sidewinder. I think that's the one I was thinking of, Red Shirt. Are you excited for Evil Dead the game? I hear it has player versus player and co-op with skill. If it doesn't have an offline single player mode, then I don't really care about it. Happy weekend and see you next week. All right, rephrase later. Do you think a rated R Star Wars film could ever happen? I think it could. Whether it actually does or not, it's a different story. Yes, there were some rumble in arcade games, like particularly some of the light gun games in the arcades had vibrating machine guns and stuff like that. But it was it was accomplished in kind of a different way. Do you think we'll get a Harry Potter TV series? Don't know. Don't really care. What games are you currently playing? Just Ass Creed Vikings is all I've been playing for the last several days. What didn't you like about the Purge films? Just the entire idea of it was stupid to me. Because the whole idea of we have obliterated crime by having one night per year where anyone can indulge in any kind of crime they want, it was a stupid concept to me, because I thought, well, if that was really the case, the first thing that I would think of would be that on that purge night, someone would, since they're allowed to do whatever they want, would break into NORAD or break into wherever the big red button was, set off all the nukes and kill us all. And then there'd be no more Purge or no more anything else. So to me, it was a stupid idea for a movie. Thoughts on the Parler app being banned? I don't care. Don't care. Doesn't matter to me one way or the other. I'm not that invested in social media. Is DualSense a gimmick at this point? Not if it's used right. I mean, I've enjoyed it in the games that I've played that have used it so far. 7th, I'm sorry, but every time I look at the door behind you, I keep expecting 8th to pop in and scare you. 8th is not much of a pop-in kind of guy. He doesn't tend to come in unless I ask him to come in. And even when I ask him to come in, he's reluctant about it because he doesn't like to be interrupted when he's doing his own thing. Typical teenager in that regard. What do you think about Microsoft looking to implement the DualSense features in its most recent controller? Answered this question twice already tonight. Do you like the Xbox Elite controllers? Should Sony make their own? I don't care about the Elite controllers. They don't offer any additional features that I give a crap about. If Microsoft is looking to implement DualSense, I don't really care about that either, since technically they did have a patent for that kind of technology a couple of years ago. They just never did anything with it. The KFC console is a clear-cut sign that we're living in the end of times. I don't understand. I don't understand what they hope to get out of that. I really don't. To give you an idea that the DualSense is not just a gimmick, Steam is going to, if they haven't already, employed full support of it in their games. Well, that's cool. That's a cool concept. I know 8th will take advantage of that. Because 8th probably plays on Steam more than he does on console nowadays. I'd like to upgrade this PC. Maybe that's what I'll do if we do end up getting another stimulus check out of all of this. Maybe that's what I'll do with it, is instead of buying the Legends pinball machine, I'll just upgrade to a nicer PC. I don't know. I don't really game on PC that much, so that might just be a waste of money for me, and I just stick with this PC until it dies. Yes, Terminator films definitely should have stopped after Terminator 2. Technically, we didn't need a Terminator 2, but it was such a good film that, I'm not going to complain about it too loudly. Someone just asked me about the Evil Dead game not 10 minutes ago. Would you agree that Star Wars Fallen Order is a better Souls game than Sekiro and Nioh? I haven't really played much of Fallen Order. I would say that 8th might tell you that Fallen Order is better than Sekiro, but he would give you probably a big no on Nioh because he really likes the Nioh series. Have you ever played any VR? I have a PSVR. There's videos of me on my channel playing the PSVR. Did you like the TV series Oz? It had some interesting moments, but at the same time, it had a lot of visual imagery that I could have gone my whole life without having seen. I didn't care for T3. I felt that it dipped too much into the humor factor. It tried too hard to be funny. Are you looking forward to Battlefield 6? No. Apparently, I didn't get enough sleep last night. No, I'm not buying 5 PS5s. Which is the better Vietnam War film, Platoon or Full Metal Jacket? I liked Full Metal Jacket better myself. I've seen both films, and I just liked Full Metal Jacket better. If Bruce Lee was still alive when The Expendables came out, it would have been awesome. That would have been cool, yes. Thoughts on Resident Evil games? Never really got into it. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. I'm not a huge fan of the survival horror genre. Why didn't you like Lost? I just thought it was a stupid show. As far as I'm concerned, Lost is just the unofficial sequel to Gilligan's Island. It's what happened after Gilligan and all of them died. Gilligan and company never got off the island, and they all died when the airplane crashed and crushed them all and burned them all to death. And so Lost takes place upon the scarred, burned flesh and bone of Gilligan and the skipper and the professor and Mary Ann and Ginger and all the rest. Favorite moment from Little Nicky. Mine is "I will eat your heart." Uh, I think my favorite moment in Little Nicky is where Ozzy Osbourne picks up a big rock and says, "Here, kill him with this." I think that's my favorite moment. Or maybe the overly obnoxious product placement in that movie where you've got that demon taking a bite out of a drumstick and he's like Popeye's chicken is the shiznit. When do you think the PS5 will be restocked in big waves? I wouldn't imagine that would happen till at least April. Do you ever watch The Wire? No. Do you like The Mandalorian better than Breaking Bad? I like them equally because they're two different types of shows. I don't really think they're easily comparable. Two totally different types of shows. Uh, Let me see if I can. Okay, that's where the controller goes. That's where the power goes. All right. This is what my new little retro console looks like. It's not very big. And it's called the Super Console X. Those of you who were here last night got to watch me play around with it. So, you know what it can do. Do you think Friday would have worked better as a TV series? I don't know. I think that's something. I think that's a show that would have worn out its welcome as a regular show. Brother, how you doing? From the Netherlands. One thing I don't understand. Well, welcome, sir. One thing I don't understand from Microsoft's Xbox Series X is that they have not one exclusive game. They had many years to make games. Why didn't they do it? Because they hadn't invested in studios up to that point. Because they didn't think it was needed. They thought all they needed was Halo, Gears, and Forza, and that was all that was required to be a success. And they learned from the Xbox One that that was not the case. Why does Solid Rev allow his job to dictate what he does in his own house? Because without a job, he would not have a house. Do you think the first Hellraiser focuses too much on Pinhead's origin? No, because the first Hellraiser doesn't focus on his origin at all. It's the second Hellraiser that focused on his origin. Hellraiser 2. Hellraiser 1 doesn't go into his origin at all. Nice try, though. Dip, dip, doo, doo, doo. Doo, 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 doo. A doo, 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 doo. Favorite Halloween movie? The first one. All the rest have been kind of crap. I mean, Halloween 2018 was okay, but it wasn't great. The Mummy versus Pinhead. Okay. I really would have liked to have seen the movie that came from Jason versus Freddy versus Pinhead. I would have liked to have seen that. That was an idea at one point. It was in one of the early drafts of the script, where at the end of the last fight during Freddy versus Jason, Pinhead would have appeared, and the movie would have ended then with him appearing, and so then it would have picked up in a sequel, but they couldn't get the rights to him at the time. So I think that would have been fun in the least. I don't know how much of a chance Jason would have had, but Freddy versus Pinhead would have been interesting. Who do you think Sony will acquire? According to macro trends, PlayStation alone has at least $41 billion in cash on hand. I don't know. I don't know who they should buy. I know what 8th wants. 8th wants Sony to buy From Software. I think that would be an interesting acquisition. I don't think it would be as big of an acquisition as Bethesda per se. But the other thing I would like to see is not for Sony to buy Konami outright, but for Sony to buy the rights to all of the Konami franchises and then maybe buy Kojima Studios and just give all these Konami franchises to Kojima. So Kojima could expand his team, and we could get, real new Contra, some of the franchises they've let die, like Jackal, and then some of their newer stuff, Silent Hill and that kind of thing. Metal Gear Solid, of course. That would be pretty big for Sony anyway. Sony buying Capcom would be interesting. Sony's biggest thing right now really would be that compared to the kind of stuff that Bethesda will put out, as far as like big open world Western style RPGs, big first-person shooter franchises, well, Sony no longer has any first-party or even second-party exclusive first-person shooters. They had Killzone, they had MAG, and they had the Resistance series. All three of those are dead. So they don't have anything to show as far as exclusive first-person shooter content, and I think that's a fairly significant gap that they ought to rectify. The other big gap is they don't have exclusive RPGs anymore. They have relied too much on third-party Japanese companies that only wanted to publish their RPGs on the Sony platform. And which, that has resulted in some great games, but now a lot of those companies are wanting to port their Sony games onto the Switch, and so they're no longer exclusive. So, Sony should invest in maybe buying some of Level 5. Level 5 would be a good company for Sony to buy, so they would have exclusive Japanese RPGs. That would be a good idea. Because Level 5 makes some great ones. They did Dark Cloud 2, White Knight Chronicles series. They did, of course, Ni no Kuni. That would be a great buy for them, and they could probably get them for pretty cheap because they are a smaller studio. Imagine the kind of game Level 5 could make with Sony money behind them. Why would Sony not care about gaming, Shadow Deist, when PlayStation is their most profitable business? They make more money off PlayStation than any other product they release. Without PlayStation, they'd be dead as a company. Final Fantasy 16 is going to be a timed PlayStation exclusive, as far as I know, like Final Fantasy 7 Remake. I mean, Sony could. I know some people have said Sony should buy Square Enix, but I think that would be too big of a buy for them. But whereas, Microsoft has been buying up all these Western publishers like Bethesda and whatnot, and Sony has done that too. I think Sony should buy up some of these Japanese companies and keep some of this stuff, in house at home. You know, Sega Sammy would be a great purchase if they had the money to do it. I mean, look how many amazing Sega franchises there are out there that aren't made anymore. Like Outrun, Afterburner, Virtual Fighter, Virtual Racing, Daytona Racing. Most of the really famous Sega franchises are dead. They're basically Sonic and Yakuza nowadays. That's their two big things. Final Fantasy stopped being Sony exclusive with Final Fantasy 13. From Final Fantasy 7 to Final Fantasy 10-2, they were exclusive to Sony platform, with the exception of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles on the Nintendo and some games on the DS. Spider-Man's their most profitable film franchise. Spider-Man has probably been their biggest selling exclusive on the PS4. I think it sold like 13 or 14 million copies, something like that. Maybe more by now. Might have hit 20 million for all I know. But as far as their businesses goes, as opposed to like, their camera business, their TV business, their cell phone business, if they even still do cell phones anymore, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, video games are their most profitable business. They make way more from PlayStation than they do from their Sony Films or Columbia Pictures or any of that. I would like to see what Blue Point would do as an original game as opposed to a remake. Devolver Digital. To Arturo, the companies that I'm speaking of don't make Japanese FAP games to begin with. So there wouldn't be any worry in Sony buying anything from the companies that I've mentioned, because the companies that I've mentioned are not known for making anything that would be over 12 appropriate material in the first place. So you can go peddle your Sony is preventing me from fapping angst somewhere else. Thank you. Am I for censorship? No. But in the context of what I was talking about, your point was stupid. Moving along. Golden Sun is a good game. 7th, I'm waiting for a new Splinter Cell. Keep on waiting. Will there be a Streets of Rage 5? No idea. Walking Dead is getting a comedy series. I have a feeling Sly will come to the PS5 like the Insane trilogy. Well, You know, they already re-released the trilogy on PS3, so I don't know. How does PS5 backwards compatibility work? You put the PS4 disc in the system and you play it. That's how it works. If it had an unlocked frame rate, then you'll get 60 frames per second. If the frame rate was hard locked in the software at 30, then you won't unless they release a patch. Have you played SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom? We have the remake, but I haven't played it. It's in 8th room somewhere. Who's worse, DSP Gaming or Drama Alert? Probably Drama Alert. At least DSP is unintentionally funny. That's why most people watch him. It's not because they're an actual fan of him. They want to watch him screw up or say something stupid. Kind of like with Wings of Redemption. I don't watch Wings. I can honestly say that I've never watched a Wings of Redemption video. I've seen videos making fun of Wings that had clips of him in it, but I've never actually sat down and watched a Wings of Redemption video. Oh, and by the way, remaining. We've had one $5 donation. We are $45 away from the 10 o'clock goal. So this is the last hour of the show unless $45 shows up in the next hour. Why would Microsoft bother with other game studios if all they care about is xCloud and Game Pass? Because exclusive games are basically $60 advertisements for your platform. They are things to entice people to subscribe. Just like the Snyder Cut is an incentive to to subscribe to HBO Max. Just like all the exclusive movies and shows on Netflix are advertisements for Netflix, or The Boys on Amazon is an incentive to subscribe to Amazon Prime. Exclusive games that you can't play anywhere else are a reason to subscribe to Game Pass. They're an enticement to get you to pay that monthly fee. And they are also an enticement to purchase a PlayStation 5, like God of War or Demon Souls or what have you. What I meant to ask was, does it download a fake emulated copy or is it off the disc? As best as I can tell, it actually installs it off the disc. And it's still, unless it's a game that you purchased digitally to begin with, it requires the disc to be in the drive for you to play it. Who would win in a fight, Wings of Redemption or Boogie 2988? I have no idea. Is Hooge still around? Not that I'm aware of. I haven't seen him show his mug in years now. And when he did, it was just another trying to pick a fight with Infinite Retro. And then he disappeared again when Infinite Retro wouldn't give him all the attention that he was wanting. So to my knowledge, he finally came to his senses and quit while he was behind, as far as I know. There is, however, somebody from the old school that is coming back. I just don't know exactly when that's going to be. But I got confirmation from him the other day that he has purchased the equipment that he needs to get back in the game. So when he does, there very well could be new sparks flying between he and I in the console war realm. We shall see. I think Hooge and Lebowski would be kind of tied on that front. No, it's not Blackbuster. It's someone on the Xbox side. The someone on the Xbox side. My Xbox arch nemesis himself. The one that I used to call Nanook of the North. Yes, Chris. I am hinting at a certain general. Thoughts on Xbox future? Do you think exclusives will show up quality ones eventually? Eventually, though by their own time scale that leaked recently, uh, aside from ones that you already knew about, like Halo, you're not going to be seeing big stuff till like 2022, 2023. You'll see the same old up until then, like Halo Infinite and a new Forza. That is correct, Snoogans. That is correct. He is coming back. I think he has an uphill battle if he expects to reclaim his throne from the likes of guys like, Colt Eastwood and what have you, but he is coming back. Do you think the 360 will be the worst console because of the red ring of death? The 360, hardware failure is just one component of a system success or failure. The 360, from a hardware perspective, was a failure for several years of its life until they worked those hardware problems out with new versions of the console. But it did have some compelling first-party exclusives and third-party exclusives. Way better than the Xbox One did. The 360 had a much better library than the Xbox One. That's not even up for debate. As far as library goes, reasons to own a system, I would say that even something like the Jaguar was worse than the 360 was. Are you surprised that Crap Gamer is still around? Kinda, yeah. I hope he comes back. You guys had some good debates. Yeah, he's coming back. And of course, because of the fact that we had such good back and forths is the reason why he let me know about it. Because he was letting me know so I would know, hey, we can get something going when I come back and try to rekindle the magic from the old days. The GameCube had some great games on it, Shadow Diaz, but the PS2's library just buried it. Just buried it. The only thing I want from the next Switch is no Joy-Con drift. We haven't had that problem with our Switch so far. I would like to have a Switch Lite, but I still haven't been able to, score one for whatever reason. It's just, I never see them in stock anywhere. And I'd like to have one, but, I mean, they have them in stock now on Amazon Prime for $200, but at this point, with the rumored Switch Pro coming, I don't know if I want to invest in one. But I could get a gray Switch Lite for $200 right now. I just don't know that I want to invest in one with the rumors of the Switch Pro on its way. I'm not saying that Joy-Con drift is not real. I'm just saying that we haven't experienced it on ours. Shadow Deist, it wasn't a matter of better games versus more games because PlayStation 2 had games on it that were just as good as anything that Nintendo had on the GameCube. It just had more of them. The GameCube had games on it that made it worth buying one, just not as many as the PS2 did. Well, people are calling it the Switch Pro, but it it could very well be the Switch 2, but there's a lot of rumors floating around that the next version of the Switch is coming. So I don't know if I'd want to invest $200 in the Switch Lite. I mean, I'd like to have one strictly for collection purposes, but you know, they won't jeopardize regular Switch sales just to take a little risk on a little upgrade. To that, I would say you should look up the new 3DS. Thank you. The new 3DS included an analog nub and a more powerful processor for the handful of games that supported it. Thank you. I don't like consoles that you cannot plug into your TV. Well, console, there is no such thing as a console you can't plug into your TV. That's called a handheld. And that's all the Switch is a handheld that you plug into your TV. They can call it a hybrid or whatever they want. It's a handheld. It's a Vita with a more powerful graphics processor. That's what it is. It's a Vita with a more powerful graphics processor with removable controllers. And even less so with the Switch Lite. The Switch Lite, for all intents and purposes, is the Vita 2. Do you consider yourself a victim of the science age or a child of the storm? Can you remember when you were my age? Is time no more for you? Are you the atomic punk? Italian cuss words generator. It sounds like Italian cuss words generator has been smoking the zebra cakes. I'm just saying. I am one thing and one thing only. Italian cuss words generator. I am the 7th level. $40 left, folks. 40 minutes left and $45 short. I don't think we're going to make it tonight. I don't think the excitement is there this evening. Oh. Whew. There's rumors of a PS2 classic. Hopefully they don't mess it up. Yeah, the only thing the PS1 classic is good for is emulation, because you can jailbreak that thing and it's a pretty decent little emulator. Will play a lot of the same stuff that this Super Console X I've got does. I probably could have saved myself a good chunk of money just by taking the PS1 classic that I bought for $20 and just jailbroke it and put some emulators on it with a memory card. Would have saved me a lot of money, at least $80 worth. Was Don Matrick the worst game executive ever? That's debatable, because a lot of the mistakes he made were similar to mistakes that were made by Sega that made them end up going software only. Considering that Microsoft are still currently making consoles and Sega is not, should tell you that in the least some of the executives at Sega were worse than Matrick was, but not by much. Sup 7th, are you surviving the coof? So far, I have not caught anything. I remember seeing the PlayStation Classic for $29 at Walmart. I bought it for $19.95 off Amazon. They had it on sale for $19.95 and I bought it. It's in 8th room somewhere. The start of the failure for Saturn was for Sega was the 32X. The Sega CD was fine. It's just that the American marketing focused too much on full motion video games, and there weren't that many games made for it that took advantage of the additional effects that they added to it, which made it possible to do a lot of the things that the Genesis couldn't do. Most of the games that came out for the Sega CD were just Genesis games with real CD music replacing the original soundtrack. There was a few that added additional things like the driving levels of Batman Returns, but most of them were just the exact same game with CD music. They made mistakes with the Saturn, but it all started really with the 32X. The Sega CD didn't really cause Sega any problems per se, because it still had a library overall that justified the purchase, like Lunar, Lunar 2, Vi, Magic Knight Ray Earth, Panzer Dragoon Saga, etc., etc., etc. The original PlayStation didn't really focus on full motion video all that much. They had a few full motion video games, but it wasn't on the level of like the Sega CD or what have you. And yes, the 3DO had it as well, but a lot of the Sega CD's marketing was about those full motion video games, whereas PlayStation's marketing was mostly about 3D games like Ridge Racer and that crappy fighting game that everyone was obsessed with when it first came out, whose the name of it is escaping me. But now 3DO, yes, it pushed a lot of the full motion video games. But the Sega CD's marketing was all about, Marky Mark and Night Trap and Sewer Shark and that kind of thing. No, not Legend. I can't remember the name of it. Toshinden. Battle Arena Toshinden. A lot of the early PlayStation commercials, they showed mostly Ridge Racer and Battle Arena Toshinden. Did you like that bunker game you played? No, I did not like it. It wasn't, first of all, it was just a full motion video game, and secondly, it didn't even really have an interesting story. The Star Wars game on 3DO. I want to say that game was also on Sega CD, but I can't remember the name of it. Star Wars Rebel Assault or something like that. Do you remember Battle? Of course I remember Battletoads. I have the Battletoads arcade game on that retro console. I just didn't play it last night. But I have it. Maybe I'll beat it next Wednesday. Maybe I'll try to beat it next week. It's not like it's hard to beat an arcade game because the thing allows you to put infinite quarters in it, so it's more or less impossible to lose. Did you beat Demon Souls on PS5? No. I beat the first boss, and then I haven't seen it since. It's been in 8th room. 8th has already platted it, by the way. He platted it weeks ago. Do you think Nintendo should buy Capcom? Well, I mean, they could, but would they is the question. Considering the fact that even their own in-house studios don't put out games that often, how much money would go towards Capcom to be putting out regular content with them? If Capcom's not going to get bought by Sony or Microsoft, they're better off staying on their own. The last time I bought a Blu-ray was the 1980s movie Making Contact. I haven't bought a Blu-ray since. No, I didn't play the mobile Battletoads. I don't watch NFL at all, Master Million, so I don't know anything about how crazy it would be if the Browns were or were not being good in the playoffs. I don't watch football. I don't watch football. I don't watch baseball. I haven't watched basketball since Jordan retired. And I haven't watched wrestling. I haven't even watched pro wrestling in years. Not regularly. I've watched a couple of AEW matches just to see what it was all about as far as the fuss that was going on, but that's been it. Just kind of lost my interest in it. Oh, my neck just popped. I know Jim Ross is in AEW. I just haven't seen anything that makes me care. Yes, I admit I am high as AF and was listening to Van Halen when that song kicked in. I thought 7th Level would like the lyrics. I'm bored. Sorry for bothering you. I'm not as big of a Van Halen fan as you think. There are certain Van Halen albums that I've liked. There's a lot of Van Halen that I've never even bothered to listen to because I just like what I like. I like 1984. I like OU812. I like For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. I like Balance. And I like 5150, and that's pretty much it. I haven't bothered to listen to a lot of the other stuff, except for a few songs here and there on their debut album, like Running with the Devil and what have you. Jim Ross seems happier there. Well, good for him, man. Good for him. He's a very talented individual. He deserves it. But it's still not enough. That alone is not enough to get me interested in it. Neither is Sting coming back when Sting was half crippled by Seth Rollins anyway. So, how much of an impact can he possibly make? We're never going to get the Sting versus Undertaker match that we wanted 20 years ago, so why do I care? I already talked about Nintendo laughing in Microsoft's face when they tried to buy them. So that was covered all the way back at the beginning of the cast. How much do you like John Cena? Not very much. You sound like a good father. May you live a long life, kind sir. Have a nice day. Well, okay then. Well, okay. Oh, we are at the 30-minute mark. We have 30 minutes left of the show. So unless $45 shows up in the next 30 minutes, that's where I'm going to be saying goodnight to you guys. Longhorn or Outback? I haven't had Outback in forever, man. I've had Longhorn maybe 7 or 8 months ago. But I haven't had Outback in an eternity. I think overall I prefer Longhorn. I mean, my go-to was Logan's, but the Logan's here went out of business because of the coof. Longhorn is still open, but Logan's went out of business. So I don't have Logan's to go to anymore. They were my go-to. Kind of sucks. They were cheaper than Longhorn. They were cheaper. Bonus points if you know what I was whistling. I really do like this 8-bit dough controller. I kind of wish that I'd bought the gray one with the colored buttons. But I do like it an awful lot. It feels good in the hands. It's a good controller. I like it. I don't think it was worth the $50 that I paid for it, but I like it. I don't think that thing should have cost more than $29.95, but that's just me. 8-bit dough makes a good product. But it's an overpriced product for what you get, in my opinion. Worst alien film ever. Everything that came after Jim Cameron's Aliens has sucked. Alien 3 sucked. Alien Resurrection sucked. Alien Covenant sucked. Prometheus sucked. Both Alien versus Predator movies were trash. It's like after Aliens, it just went straight to crap. Is it crazy that you can get a copyright for humming or whistling a tune on YouTube? I've never had that happen to me. But again, if you can tell me what I was whistling, bonus kudo points to you. I'll do it again. Let me know if you know what that is. That's from my time more than anyone that's in here, so I'll be surprised if anyone knows what it is. Did you like a worst Predator film? Everything after the first one. Did you like War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise? It wasn't too bad. I think the ending where his son ends up being alive, the same actor who played the boyfriend on Shameless, the fact that he was alive was absolute BS. There was no way that this kid went running up that hill to that battle zone and survived it. I'm sorry. Another troll in the last 30 minutes. Bye, troll. Goodbye, troll. No takers, huh? I'm going to give you the count of 10 to guess what that song was. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last chance. Nobody knew what it was. It's a song called El Dorado by ELO, also known as the Electric Light Orchestra. Thank you. In a day, I'll sail away on a voyage of no return to the sea. Electric Light Orchestra, El Dorado. Have you played Risky Woods? I don't think so. I don't think so. Lex Luthor versus Iron Man. Well, Lex Luthor at one point did have an Iron Man suit of sorts. The only good song by ELO is Evil Woman. You know, ELO used to be, there was a song by them, or a part of a song by them, that used to be the intro music for like Monday Night Football. It was the song that had this, it had a subliminal message at the beginning of it that if you played it backwards would say, the music is reversible. The time. Turn back. Turn back. Turn back. And then it would go into this instrumental. And that instrumental was the, for a long time back in the 80s, was the intro music for Monday Night Football. Or maybe it was Friday Night Football. It was one of the weekly football shows. Did you like the Carrie films? I liked the first one. That was it. Favorite soda? Pepsi. I heard that Olive Garden is shutting down. Really? I don't know. I hadn't heard that. But then again, I haven't been going out to eat that much except for like where I can go through a drive-through window like, you know, Whataburger or what have you. In fact, I had Whataburger yesterday. Do you think Star Wars will take its spot back at the box office? We'll see. It depends on what kind of Star Wars movie Kevin Feige is brewing up. I don't think Rogue Squadron is going to be it. Do you like the Carrie films? I like the first one. The rest of them suck. Do you think a Mass Effect film could work? Potentially, but they'd have to come up with a better ending than 3 had. But yeah, I could see it working as a film series. If the right people got behind it. Yes, the new Wonder Woman is awful. Just terrible. Absolute. Seriously, that movie is absolutely atrocious. That is an atrocious film. I don't know how anyone at Warner Brothers could have read that script and said, ah, yes, this is the perfect follow-up to the previous film. That movie is such garbage. And, you know, I'm glad that I didn't have to pay to watch it, aside from, you know, my subscription to HBO Max, of course. But I'm glad I didn't pay to go to a theater to see that movie. Do your magic powers ever hurt? On occasion. On occasion. I haven't actually had to use my magic powers tonight, which is odd. Usually I have a little bit of magic built up by the time I start the 7th cast, but not tonight. Not tonight. Strangely. Did you like Suicide Squad? Not especially. It had some moments. But for the most part, I thought it was terrible. And Birds of Prey was even worse. Oh my God. I could barely get through Birds of Prey. There's a rumor of J.J. Abrams making Man of Steel 2, and I don't trust him to make... Well, you know, J.J. Abrams tried to make a Superman movie prior to Man of Steel, and some of his plot ideas for the script actually had very similar instances in Man of Steel, like the behind the shoulder fight in the sky between Superman and Zod, where the camera is right behind Superman's shoulders, he's flying up and punching him. That's actually described in J.J. Abrams' script. But in J.J. Abrams' script, there was a lot of weird stuff. Like Lex Luthor was actually an undercover Kryptonian that had been sent to Earth to do something. I don't remember what. And just a bunch of weird crap like that. And a lot of the fights in his Superman movie were described as being similar to the Matrix fights. So, I don't know. Have you ever had an intruder in your home? Well, if those of you who've been watching me for a long time, you'll know that many years ago, my house was broken into and they stole several $1,000s worth of stuff out of my house. And how did they do it? They cased my house and took note of when nobody would be home, evidenced by my car not being there. They thought, and the first time they tried it, they realized that just because my car wasn't parked in the driveway didn't mean that nobody was home. So they kicked the door in, and my wife was still at home. And so that spooked them, and they left. And then after she and I got divorced, they waited till I was gone. And Eighth was with his babysitter at the time, so he wasn't at the house. Actually, he was at school. Sorry, he was at school, so he wasn't at the house. And they broke in again. This time they didn't kick the door in. They got in through my living room window, which had somehow managed to be left unlocked. So they just raised the window and crawled in and then unlocked the front door, backed their car up into the driveway, and just walked all my stuff out the house in broad daylight, packed their car up, and left. They got caught because they had done it to several houses in the same neighborhood, so it was only a matter of time till they got caught. And when I left North Carolina, they were still in prison. But yeah. Do you still talk to the old Miss Seventh? On occasion. Like, she reached out to me in early December to find out what Eighth wanted for Christmas. And so she sent him a couple of things. She sent him a couple of albums, and she sent him this set of earphones that goes with one of his VR helmets. Best Leprechaun movie. I don't like any of the Leprechaun movies. Did you like Superman Returns? I liked it as a continuation from Superman 2. You know, it pretended that Superman 3 and 4 never happened, which was fine by me. Did you like the Justice League film? I liked parts of it. Thoughts on Michael Keaton being back in Batman in the DCEU? We'll see how he's used. It all depends on how he's used. Have you ever gotten a jury duty notice? I've gotten several jury duty notices, but I've always had a reason to get out of them. I've always filed a grievance for why I couldn't afford to be there, and have gotten out of jury duty every time. That being that, you know, I'm a single father, and that a week of jury duty pay does not cover all of my expenses, so it would be costing me a financial hardship, and so I couldn't go through with it. Favorite Joe Pesci performance? Mine is Casino. Mine's got to be Goodfellas. Burglary is a 15-year felony. Yeah. And they stole a bunch. They got at least $6,000 worth of stuff. They stole one of my TVs. They stole my PS3. They stole my 360. They stole multiple laptops. They stole my cell phone. because I'd left my cell phone by accident that day when I went to work. They stole 8th's TV at the time. They stole his little entry-level computer. Yeah, they stole a bunch of stuff. And it took a good long while before my insurance company coughed up the dough to replace all my crap, too. We're at the 15-minute mark, folks. 15 minutes. $45 short. What if Rian Johnson's trilogy was better than the sequel trilogy? I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. And people will say, well, you know, you got all your stuff back, so it was a victimless crime. No. No. Because when you get broken into, it can affect the cost of your insurance and can cause other hardships. You know, the first time they tried to break in, I had to go through getting the insurance company to replace the front door because they actually broke the front door when they kicked it in. So that had to be replaced by the insurance company, and they didn't want to cover the full cost of it. So I ended up having to pay for that for some part of it. And yeah. Would Batman Beyond live action work? I have no idea. I didn't like Batman Beyond. Yes, I like The Shining. Well, Agent Redshirt, with me, they didn't send any back until I sent receipts. So I had to wait until I sent them proof of all that stuff. And luckily, I didn't have receipts, but I did have, for all of it, but I did have time-stamped photographs showing what was in the house. And so I still didn't get as much as I should have, but I did get enough to replace everything that was stolen. 45 hours to go was 45 hours to reach the $100 goal, because I set the goal the day after tomorrow, because if I set the goal to midnight for tomorrow, then if we did hit 6 hours, it could mess up the bar. That's what that's talking about. What's your favorite go-to food? Steak. Didn't a pipe burst in your old house and flood the living room? It didn't flood. It partially flooded one section. And yes, there was a pipe that burst, and it ate through the ceiling of my game room at that time. And, you know, we got the pipe fixed and soaked up all the water from the carpet before it could ruin the carpet. And then rather than pay to replace that part of the ceiling, we just covered it up with poster board to hide the hole in the ceiling, and didn't even bother to have it fixed when we moved out of the house, because we weren't given enough time by my company to find a buyer to sell the house. So I just did deed in lieu of foreclosure, and just turned the house back over to the mortgage company, so it didn't show up as like a foreclosure on my record. We need to get to hour 4. Well, there's no way to get to hour 4 without another $45, Chris G. Sorry to tell you that. You know the rules to this game. You know how it works. Was it the Wet Bandits? How much do you try to embarrass 8th? Well, none this year, because we haven't been around other people. Kind of hard to embarrass 8th if we're not around for people that he would be embarrassed for me to do anything to, you know? Like if, you know, his girlfriend hasn't been over here yet. His girlfriend is a girl that he went to school with, but of course all of them go to school from home now, and it's not safe for her to come over here. So, you know, they just sit and talk all night on frickin' Discord. I've never even met her. I mean, I've met some of his previous girlfriends, but not this current one. Damn it, that thing don't want to pop back in there. Piece of shit. Did you ever play Magic? If so, what did you play? And at the time that I was playing Magic the Gathering, the big series were 5th edition and Weatherlight, as I recall. I get out and do things every day. I'm not scared. Well, I can't take that same chance because if something was to happen to me, my health is already compromised by having type 2 diabetes and other things like that. If something happened to me, Eighth is not yet to the point where he could fend for himself. And so I still have to be the breadwinner for him. And will likely be for several years hence until he gets done with his schooling and whatnot. So I have to stay healthy, which means I don't go anywhere. It's just the way it is. If I had unlimited money, what vacation areas would I go to? I would go to Norway. I would go to Japan. I would go to London. And probably Jerusalem, actually. I'd also go to Astoria, Oregon, and take the Goonies tour. I would go to New York City just to be able to say I'd been there. I would go to Los Angeles and see all the sights there. And that'd be about it, really. I think my favorite card overall in the 5th edition was the Jester's Cap. And people always hated me when I played it. It's been so long since I've played Magic, I don't even remember what it does. I just remember that people hated it whenever I used it. I don't care for other countries. I'd visit every big city in the USA. You know, with the exception of like New York and Chicago, if you've been to one city in the United States, you've kind of been to them all in some respects. Like, you know, I've been to Miami, I've been to Atlanta, I've been to downtown Houston, downtown Austin. You know, they're all kind of the same thing. The big differences are some of the restaurants and the music venues, and that's about it, really. Do you play Guitar Hero? No. I did Rock Band, but not the guitar. I did the vocals in Rock Band. Specifically, Green Day Rock Band. I was able to get 98 to 100% on every song on that game on expert difficulty. No, I've never met Vince McMahon. Never met Vince McMahon. I've met a bunch of other wrestlers, but not Vince McMahon. In fact, if you go back through my videos, there's a video called "Thank You, Roddy," and at the end of it, the last 2 minutes of that video is footage of Roddy Piper hanging out with me, Eighth, and the former second Mrs. Seventh. I wish I'd gotten more of it on tape, but I didn't want to be annoying to him, so I only filmed like a couple of minutes of it just to document the fact that that day actually happened. Because we got to hang out with Roddy on and off all day long. I've told that story a dozen times. And it was just incredibly fun. And I wanted to at least get a little bit of it on tape just to prove that it actually occurred. So, what's your favorite restaurants in other states? Oh, Lord. Well, I haven't really been to that many states. I've been to Kentucky. I've been to Tennessee, of course, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida, and Texas. and that's been pretty much it. Those are the only states I've even been to, and even then, all southern states. So most of the restaurants that I talk about are restaurants that I ate at in Florida, specifically Disney World, like the Mexican restaurant in Epcot, uh, Le Cellier, Mitsukoshi Teppanyaki, Nine Dragons of China, etc., etc. We're at the 5-minute warning, folks. 5 minutes left, $45 short. It lets you look inside other players' deck and exile 3 cards from their deck. Yeah, because once you get to be a decent Magic player, you can look at a person's deck and tell what it was built to do. So now I'm remembering. Yeah, with Jester's Cap, if you can get it into play early on in the game, you can take a look at their deck and remove, 3 cards that can potentially totally destroy the point of their deck, the strategy that they built it for. So it can be a devastating card to have. But I think at some point, because of that, they removed it from tournament play at one point. Maybe they brought it back after that. I don't know. But I do know that they limited in tournament play at one point how many Jester's decks you could have, Jester's Caps you could have in your deck, because I had 4. I had like 4 Jester's Caps in my deck to try to increase the likelihood that I could draw it. Yeah, getting a PS5 is easier said than done, but luckily we have 2 of them, so I don't have to worry about that. Someone coming clutch with the money. No one's going to show up with $45 at the last minute, Master Millions. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Not tonight. If it was going to happen, it would have already happened. And that's the way it is. Sometimes there's people that can donate, and sometimes there's people that cannot. It is what it is. It is what it is. Yes, I have a PS5 and 8th has a PS5. Both of them the physical edition, not the digital edition. Ha ha ha, that's why they hated you. It's legal in Commander, but only 1 copy. Yeah, I had 4 of them in my deck. Every deck I built had 4 Jester's Caps. And they didn't just hate me because I did that. They hated me because Jester's Cap was a rare card, and I had drawn 4 of them. I had 4 that I'd drawn out of packs. And so they hated the fact that I'd been lucky enough to pull 4. And so yeah. Bye, Master Millions. Did you ever pretend to be a cop with your father's badge? No. No, I did not. I did use his badge once for career day because when I was in the 3rd grade, I had this idea of joining the FBI. And so I went to career day dressed as an FBI agent, but I didn't have an FBI photo badge, so I just wore my dad's old badge instead. And that's the closest I ever came to impersonating a police officer. Closest I ever got. And with that, it is 9 o'clock. We had $5 in donations. We were $45 short of the 10 o'clock goal. We did not make it. So this is where I'm going to have to say goodbye. Since we didn't get that many votes on what day y'all wanted me to do retro streaming, but we did have a handful, and all of them voted for Wednesday. Wednesday is when I'll be back, and I will we'll play some retro stuff. Be thinking of what games you'd like to see me play. Otherwise, if no one donates $2 to have me play something else, I'll just go by a set list of what I want to play, and we'll go from there. We had one vote against Friday that cancels your vote of Friday out, Shadow Diaz, because they said Fridays were too busy. And plus, Friday is the day before I do the 7th cast, so that would have me streaming 2 nights in a row. And I don't really want to do that. I'd like to have some kind of a gap, so I think Wednesday is a good fit. Anyway, be thinking about all that. I'll see you guys on Wednesday, and of course, I'll see you on the next 7th cast. Same 7th time, same 7th channel.